Alright guys, we have made it to the new season. The Championship gets back underway tonight with Birmingham against Ipswich, but of course the focus of today's video is all of the transfer latest. Plenty of done deals since we last spoke, and we've got an abundance more transfer rumours to go through in today's video as well. How prepared do you feel your side is going into this new season, and how much work do you think still needs to be done on your squad between now and the end of the window? Let me know down below. But without any further ado, let's jump in. So we've had confirmation of Jens Kjustad joining Ipswich Town on loan once again. We knew that he was a priority target for the Tractor Boys after they missed out on Hayden Hackney, so they'll be pleased to get this one over the line. Comes on a loan deal, but Ipswich do have the obligation to buy him permanently for a fee of around 5.6 million if they are promoted back to the Premier League. I think he'll be a really good option for them in the Championship this season. That holding midfield position was an obvious one that needed strengthening, so yeah, good that they've got that deal over the line. We've also seen Birmingham signing German forward Marvin Duksch on a permanent basis. He's coming over from Werder Bremen. They had been linked with the German striker for quite some time, but we'll be pleased to get this deal over the line. He comes over from Germany with a really good record. Last season in the Bundesliga, got 16 goal contributions with 8 goals and 8 assists. Something a little bit different for Blues up top. He's 6'2", another one that's expected to make an instant impact. He's 31 years old. Got to hand it to Birmingham. They've really gone all out during this transfer window, haven't they? I was interested to see where Angus Gunn was going to end up. After his stint with Norwich, he's ended up signing for Nottingham Forest, where he'll be going in as a backup goalkeeper. We've seen Tottenham youngster Jamie Donnelly joining Stoke City on loan. I think this one's a nice pickup. He spent last season out on loan with Leyton Orient in League One and did really well for himself during that loan spell. Got 8 goals and 10 assists in League One last season. Adds a bit more creativity and goals to that Stoke City squad. I think they were crying out for a player like this. Yeah, I'm a fan of that one. Think it ticks a lot of boxes for Stoke. We've seen Blackburn Rovers signing Swedish midfielder Axel Henriksson. Blackburn love doing their scouting abroad, don't they? Especially in Scandinavia, where they picked a few players up recently. Henriksson's a fairly versatile looking 23-year-old attacking midfielder, someone who can get you goals from midfield. Last season while playing in Sweden, got 8 goals and 3 assists from midfield. Hull City have finally got their man. They've announced the arrival of Ollie McBurney. There were plenty of other Championship clubs in the race to sign the Scottish forward on a free transfer. You had Swansea pushing for his signature, Sheffield United interested, Ipswich reportedly sniffing around at one stage as well, but it always seemed like Hull were there or thereabouts for this deal all summer, and really what prolonged this one was the EFL sanctions that they've obviously been working under. But I think that one's another nice addition for Hull. McBurney's obviously not the most prolific of forwards, and you wouldn't, hang your hat on him, get him like double figures for goals next season, let's say. But with the other creative players that Hull have in their ranks, putting someone like McBurney in the middle of them all, I could see him being quite effective there next season with players running off him. So yeah, you can see the logic in that one, especially on a free transfer. We've seen Derby County landing a loan deal for former Liverpool youngster Bobby Clark. He's now on the books at Red Bull Salzburg, and last season went for about £10 million when moving to Austria. That move hasn't really worked out for him, so he's back in English football now, looking to rediscover that form that he showed from his early days at Liverpool. And I think this one's a really exciting signing for Derby, I really do. Worth mentioning as well that there was Premier League interest in the 20-year-old. Both Sunderland and Leeds were also supposedly interested, but Clark himself snubbed those offers in favour of joining Derby because he wants to be a regular starter this season. So yeah, that one, really good addition. Derby squad really starting to come together now, isn't it? And speaking of Derby squad really coming together, they've also landed a loan deal for Dion Sanderson. Not someone who we expect to have a future at Birmingham, so no surprise that they were happy to sort of sanction another loan deal and get him off the books for the time being. John Eustace absolutely loves Dion Sanderson, doesn't he? Wherever he goes, he brings him with him. So those two are now reunited. And we've also finally had confirmation about Wrexham signing Kiefer Moore as well. That one had been rumbling on behind the scenes for quite some time, but have now had confirmation of this deal. Yes, Wrexham have paid a fair bit for a 32-year-old, a fee in the region of £2 million, but with the way the market's going, I feel like that's still a decent deal for someone like Kiefer Moore, who still brings a lot of quality to this level. Someone who can really shake things up in the final third. 6'5". Know that he wasn't the most prolific of forwards last season for Sheffield United. Scored 5 goals in 27 appearances, but still had an impact. With some of the other players that Wrexham have in that squad, I feel like someone like Kiefer Moore will mesh them together quite nicely. And we spoke about Anel Ahmedhodzic heading out of Sheffield United on last time's video. Well, his move to Feyenoord has since been confirmed. Sheffield United definitely going to be in the market for some more centre-backs now between now and the end of the window. I think his sale was probably inevitable heading into the last year of his contract with the Blades. Yeah, still got quite a bit of work to do, the Blades, between now and the end of the window, it feels like, don't they? We've seen Spurs youngster Will Lancashire joining Oxford United on a season-long loan. He obviously spent the second half of last season out on loan with West Brom. Only really got to see a few flashes of him during that loan spell, made 4 starts, 7 appearances from the bench. You feel like at Oxford this season he'll be given a bit more of a chance to show what he's all about. But those are some of the latest done deals which have gone through in the Championship. Now without any further ado, let's jump into the rumours. So the other day Southampton lodged a bid for Coventry midfielder Jack Redoni, which was swiftly rejected by Coventry. Not clear at this stage how much that bid was actually worth, but it's been reported that whatever it was well below Coventry's asking price, and it's unclear at this stage if Southampton will come in with another offer. Now, no surprise there's interest in Jack Redoni coming off the back of such a prolific season in the Championship last time. One of the most productive midfielders in the league. He got 22 goal contributions, 10 goals, 12 assists. There has been a little bit of Premier League interest in Redoni, bit of paper talk linking him with the Prem, but no Premier League sides coming in with official bids as of yet. This could prompt them to. From a Coventry perspective, I mean, Redoni will be on a good contract. It would take big money to get him out of there right now, you'd imagine. Speaking of Coventry, they themselves have had a couple bids rejected for Hull City defender Charlie Hughes. Now, Hughes is someone that I do rate quite highly. I think Hull themselves got a really good deal at the time when they signed him from Wigan, coming off the back of a solid season, but I think he's only going to go on and get better. Coventry's opening 2 bids were believed to be worth in the region of 4 million and then 7 million, but both have been promptly turned down by Hull, who are of the belief that Hughes could be worth 20 million plus in a year or so's time. So unless there is a mammoth bid made between now and the end of the window, Hull seem to have no intention whatsoever of selling Hughes. There's still plenty of Premier League interest in Ipswich Town playmaker Omari Hutchinson. Obviously his links to Brentford have been quite strong all summer, but it's Nottingham Forest, the latest Premier League side, to try their luck and get him out of Ipswich, but they've had a bid of £35 million rejected for the creative midfielder. Financially speaking, obviously with parachute payments, they've already made a big sale this summer in Liam Delap. Ipswich don't have to cash in unless it is going to be for a big fee. There's been talk all summer that Ipswich would be looking for a fee of 45 million plus for Hutchinson, so I think it was always likely that Forest's opening bid was to be rejected. We'll wait and see if they go in with another offer. Speaking of Ipswich, they will be bolstering their forward line though with the introduction of Chuba Akpom. This one may have gone through by the time you guys are watching, but does look like Ipswich have beaten the competition to get this deal over the line. Looks like it's going to be a loan deal with obligation to buy at the end of the season if they're promoted. Now, Birmingham have obviously been pushing hard themselves for this deal over the past few days, but Akpom's preference always seemed to be Ipswich. I'm really excited to see him back in the Championship. I know he's had a rough few years since leaving Borough, hasn't he? That move to Ajax just hasn't worked out for him, but under a manager like Kieran McKenna, with how many chances they're going to create, can play in a few different positions off that forward line as well. I think he could be quite a bit of fun at Portman Road this season. Plenty of Championship clubs will have been put on red alert by this Richard Coney update. We've known previously that Wycombe had been holding out for a fee of 5 million plus. Well, it's now been reported that they'd be willing to accept a fee of around £3 million. Now, it's all a bit confusing because Swansea's latest bid that they only made a few days ago was worth in the region of 4.5 million, and Wycombe are now prepared to accept 3 million for him. It looks like the crux of this story revolves around how much Wycombe are actually looking for as an upfront fee. So the 3 million that they're looking for 3 million upfront basically, and the other offers that they've received probably have been staggered payments. So we'll wait and see who goes ahead and nibbles at that. Obviously, Kone, a fantastic player in League One, coming off the back of a brilliantly prolific season, but is in the final year of his contract with Wycombe, which is why they're going to have to lower his asking price. You know, the deeper into this transfer window we get, because they run the risk of losing him for completely nothing if he leaves next summer on a free. A lot of the familiar faces still circling. Obviously, we know earlier in the window, Preston submitted an offer. Swansea have gone in with a couple of offers. Leicester still circling around as well. And at 3 million, you'd imagine there'd be a few suitors in there, wouldn't you? And speaking of Swansea, they reportedly have a deal in place for Brighton youngster Malik Yakoué. Now, this would be a really exciting deal. From everything I've read about the teenage midfielder, he seems like someone who could absolutely rip apart the Championship next season. He's coming off the back of a really good loan spell last season with Sturm Graz, where he was playing Champions League football. This is a midfielder with real pedigree. His underlying stats in the Champions League last season were quite good as well. 2.5 tackles per 90 he averaged. Looks really tidy on the ball as well. Brighton see this as the next stage of his development. But by all accounts, he's a player who's rated really highly within the club and in a year or two's time could be playing regular football in the Premier League. So by all accounts, if this deal is agreed, this one could be a real statement of intent, this one from Swansea, and their midfield will be getting a serious upgrade. Now, Derby County made plenty of additions during this summer window so far, but they are by no means done. They've reportedly held talks with Chelsea over a potential move for Alfie Gilchrist. This one would be a loan deal. Obviously, the defender spent last season out on loan with Sheffield United, where I thought he was a good, solid performer. Defensively, I think really good option, fairly versatile as well, predominantly plays at right back, but could also do a job at centre half. Doesn't offer a great deal going forward, but in a John Eustace setup, I think he'd be another nice option to have on board. Spurs youngster Min Hyuk Yang looks set to join Portsmouth on a season-long loan. He obviously spent the second half of last season out on loan with QPR, and I think Pompey could be getting a decent deal here. He's a fairly versatile player, can play sort of anywhere across the forward line. I think there were moments during his loan spell last season with QPR where he was a bit ineffective. Games passed him by and he looked a little bit lightweight, but there were other games where I thought he showed real glimpses of quality. And I also think with young Premier League loanees coming out to the Championship, their first loan spell, sometimes it's a bit of a culture shock. It does take them it can take them 6 months, 12 months to adapt to the level sometime. And I always think that in their second loan spell, they're always a better player for it. For that reason, I think Pompey could be getting potentially a better player than QPR had in the second half of last season, if that makes sense. Still a very good player there, obviously still someone who is developing. On a loan deal, you can see why Pompey are interested to bolster up that forward line. Sheffield United have made an approach to Atalanta to sign Ben Godfrey on loan. Now, the Blades are obviously after more depth in this position after the sale of Ahmed Hozic. Obviously, Rob Holding no longer at the club. Harry Souttar, who was massive in that Blades backline during the first half of last season as well. There's a lot of work to be done in that position, it's fair to say. Godfrey's an interesting one because I think there's a really good player in there, but he's not played a lot of football over these past couple of seasons. So if you're bringing him in as a starter, which I'd imagine Sheffield United would be doing, you definitely need more depth beyond that, given his lack of minutes in recent seasons. But keep him fully fit, and I think he'd be very good at this level, as we've seen previously. It does look like we have an end in sight to the Mads Hermansen speculation as well. West Ham have agreed a deal with Leicester City for the goalkeeper. That deal in place, worth a reported £18 million. Now, Leicester have been incredibly quiet during this transfer window so far, haven't they? But when a few players go out, we expect them to pick things up in the second half of the window, and this may be the move that gets the ball rolling in that aspect. Leicester losing a very good goalkeeper here, but I think they expected it upon being relegated, didn't they? And they've got a decent backup waiting in the wings as well. Speaking of Leicester, they are one of the clubs interested in Leeds attacking midfielder Sam Greenwood. He is expected to leave Leeds this summer for a fee in the region of 1.5 million, you'd imagine. I believe Preston North End had the option to buy him last season at around that price, but chose not to. He's a funny one, Greenwood, isn't he? Because during his last two loan spells in the Championship with both Preston and Middlesbrough, I thought he started both of those spells out quite promisingly, but then just badly faded as the season went on. And it's interesting that both Middlesbrough and North End had the option to sign him permanently as part of the loan deal they agreed, but both clubs rejected the chance to sign it. I do think there is quality in there. He's just very inconsistent and he's not quite put all of that together yet. Whether he'd come good under a coach like Cifuentes, a side like Leicester, who'd expect to have quite a lot of the ball, I don't know. I think a Championship move does await Greenwood, but whether Leicester's his level, I'm not convinced yet. And we're finally starting to get a few more rumours regarding Preston North End as well. I still think there's quite a bit we need to do between now and the end of the window if we don't want to be in a relegation scrap this season. But it looks like a deal is close for Spurs youngster Alfie Devine. He'd be joining us on a loan deal, and reportedly there would be an option to buy inserted into this one as well, although by the sounds of things it seems like that potential option to buy would be quite expensive. Now North End have been crying out for another attacking midfielder. We've only really got Mads to play that role at this point in time. I still think even with Devine coming in we could do with another one in that position as well. But it's the sort of signing that I like. He's coming obviously on loan from Spurs. We have briefly seen him in the Championship previously a couple of years ago with Plymouth. He still looked fairly raw during that loan spell though, and didn't play a great deal. But he spent last season out on loan in Belgium where he scored 6 goals in 30 league appearances. And a goal-getting midfielder is exactly what we're crying out for at the moment. So looks like that one is close. And there were a few other Championship clubs who were supposedly interested as well. Millwall, one of them, who I saw linked. But there you guys have it. That will now wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, any other rumours that we missed off today, make sure to get them in the comments down below and we'll give them a mention next time. But guys, Championship football is back and I, for one, cannot wait for it. Thank you very much for tuning in and I'll see you all in the next one.